Hello everyone. Now in this we will see the resources pools. Now what is resources pool? Resources pool is actually comprises of the multiple XenServer host installation together, bounded together as a single entity. Now single entity means what? If suppose we have multiple Xen servers installed, we have some Xen servers installed, we have 2-3 Xen servers. Now we want to manage them together as a single entity. So what we can do, we can create a resources pool and add these Xen servers into that resources pool. What is the benefit we get? We get the benefit like if you have one virtual machines running on one Xen server host, then what? We can move this virtual machine from one Xen server host to other Xen server host easily. If suppose we want to do some maintenance task to this Xen server, we want to shut down the Xen server, but this machine is important, we want to make sure the machine is running, so we can move the machine from one Xen server to other Xen server within the pool. They will work like a single entity. We can have multiple machines in each and every different Xen servers, and we can manage them as a single entity. And now we can move the machine from one server to other server, but if it must be having the sufficient memory available, otherwise it is not going to move. Sufficient memory, that means the RAM to run this machine which we are moving from this machine to the other machine. Now one more thing which we can do is we can not only move the machine from one Xen server to other Xen server, we can move them while these machines are running. Like these machines, these virtual machines are running, and while they are running we can move them from one machine to one Xen server host to other Xen server host. It is what it is called the Xen motion. With the minimum downtime we can do that. Then, or if suppose when Xen server face the hardware failure, like suppose we are not doing the maintenance task, it just failed, the server is failed here. Now the machine which was here in this Xen server host, I want to run this one virtual machine. So what we can do, we can start this machine from anywhere, from any other Xen servers available in the pool. That also we can do that. Now that we have to do it manually, that when Xen server, one server goes down, then we can run these virtual machines from the other Xen servers within the pool, that we do it manually. But when you enable the high availability feature, there is one more feature in the pool that is called high availability. So when we enable the high availability feature, we don't have to do it manually. When one server fails, the important machines, we have to mark them as important. So those important virtual machines will move the other servers automatically. They will start from the other server automatically. We don't have to do it manually when we have the high availability features enabled in the Xen server pool, in the resources pool. Now how many servers we can add in the single pool? Up to 64 servers we can add them into a single pool. Now this is just a restriction, it is not just a restriction, it is not a restriction is not enforced. We can do more than, we can add more than 64, it is just a value we have, but we can add more than. Logically it is the value, but physically we can do what? We can add more than 64 servers in the pool. Now when we create the XenServer resources pool, in the pool we will have one pool master. That means the number of servers you have in the Xen server in the pool, like we have one server, we have two server, three server. Now the first server which creates the pool, it becomes the pool master. So if you want to connect the Xen server, the resources pool, now after creating the pool, we cannot connect these other servers from Xen Center. We can only connect this master server. So whatever we want to do, whatever the configurations we want to do, either in the master server or these slave servers, we have to do it from the master server using the Xen Center. So if you are connecting through the Xen Center, so you can only connect the master server. If you try to connect the slave server, it will give you the message that this is a slave server, you have to connect the master server. And automatically it will redirect you to the master server. But from the ZCLI command line, you can connect each and every Xen servers separately through the ZCLI. But from Xen Center, you can only connect the master server. Now the master server is the accessible for the management. So whatever the management configurations you give, either for the slave servers or master server, it will go first to the master server, and then master server will forward that configuration information to the other slave servers where we are doing the configuration. But from the Zen Center, it looks like we are configuring in this server directly. We can see those 3 servers directly, but actually our configurations restrictions, the instructions are going to the master server, and then it is forwarding that instruction to the slave server. It is not directly, but we can connect them directly by using the ZCLI, and we can directly configure them. But when you are having a pool, it is a good idea to configure something from the Zen Center. Why? Because it is going to update those changes on all the XenServer hosts within the pool automatically by the Zen Center, because it is going through the pool master. Now if you are configuring some settings from the CLI, so it may be configured only on that Zen server. It is not going to replicate to other Zen servers in the pool. That you have to do it manually. You have to do it manually in each and every Zen server separately. But when you are doing it from the Zen Center, it is going to be updated automatically. Now, requirements to creating the resources pool. Now first, when we create the resources pool, we create it from the one server, the first server, and that server becomes the master server. Now this master server will define the criteria for these other slave servers. Like these servers we want to join the pool, so we have to make sure these servers fulfill the criteria what master server has fixed. It is not like fixed, it is some kind of restrictions we have. Now what is the requirement? Then that is the requirement, it is actually to join the resources pool for the slave server. Now first is to make sure the CPU on the servers joining the pool are the same in terms of vendor model and features. So if you have created the pool with using this server, so this is the master server now. Now whatever the pool, CPU procedure, CPU type this processor, this master server has, these slave servers who wants to join this pool, they should or they must have the same resources, same CPU type in case of these models, features and vendors that is already in the pool. Then the server joining the pool is running the same version of the XenServer software at the same patch level as server already in the pool. So whatever the pool master we have already, so these slave server they want to join the pool, they should have to have the same version of XenServer, updated version or patch version, everything must be same. Now these two restrictions are there, these two restriction, or we can say the requirements are there to create the to join the pool, not create the pool, because we already created the pool with the master server. Now these slave server they want to join the pool, then they have to fulfill these two requirements, otherwise they will not be able to join the pool. Now they can actually join the pool and the pool becomes the heterogeneous. The pool which has all the XenServer hosts by having the same CPU type and the same software version updates, then the pool called the homogeneous pool. That is the compulsory thing. But why? Because when we move the virtual machines, running virtual machines from one XenServer host to other XenServer host, so their CPU type must be similar. Otherwise, it will not be possible to move the running virtual machine from one XenServer host to other XenServer. That is why Citrix wants XenServer wants to be a homogeneous. They must be a same. But even if suppose we don't have, it is not possible to have every server as the same server. So if suppose in case you don't have the same hardware for the servers you have, then you can still join the pool, but the pool becomes the heterogeneous pool. Now that pool will have some restrictions that it will not give you some like redundancy and reduce the redundancy, and also what we are not able to move the virtual machines, live migration we are not able to do, Zen Notion. Now another software enforce additional software constraints when joining the server. Now these are additional requirements when you are joining the server in the pool. So first, it is not a member of an existing resources pool. The server which we want to join the pool, that server must not be the member of any other pool. Then has no shared storage configured. In the server which we want to join the pool, it should not have any other shared storage connected. If it is there, remove it, disconnect it, then after joining the pool we can connect the shared storage. And there are no running or suspended VMs on the XenServer host which is joining. So the XenServer which we want to join, it should not have any virtual machines running. We have to shut down all the virtual machines, and also not even a suspended virtual machines. It must be in the shutdown state. Then there are no active operations on the VMs in progress, such as one shutting down. Sometimes what we shut down the machine and it is keep shutting down because it is taking time, and at that point of time when you try to join the machine XenServer in the pool, it will say no, because the machine is still in the process is still going on, like shutting down. Check that the clock of the server joining the pool. The server which you want to join the pool, it must have the same clock. The clock must be similar, like at that the time should be similar. It should be synchronized, and is synchronized to the same time as the pool master. For example, by NTP server or manually. And its management interfaces is not bounded, and you can configure the management interface when the host successfully joined the pool. That means if you have a server, and sometime what we have a server with the 2-3 interfaces, so we can bound these interfaces together to make these two interfaces as a single interface. Now if we have bounded the interface for the management interface, like this is the interface which we use to connect the XenServer, and we created the bound for that interfaces, so it will not join the pool. We have to remove this. After joining the pool we can create. Then its management IP address is static. That means we should not have the DHCP configured IP address on the management interface. We must have the static IP address. Even if you want to have a DHCP address, then it should be configured for the reserved. So this is the additional thing to join the pool, and it is defined by the master, the pool master we have. Then the XenServer host is in the resources pool can contain the different number of physical network interface and have local storage repositories of varying size also. And in practice, it is often difficult to obtain the multiple servers with an exact same CPU, and so minor variation are permitted. And if it is acceptable to have a host with the varying CPUs as a part of the same pool, you can still join the pool with some limitations, and it will become what? The heterogeneous pool. And that maybe have a different local storage or different number of interfaces also. Like one server in the master server has 2 network interfaces, and the local storage size is 1 TB, and the server which I want to join is having 3 network interfaces, and the local storage size is 500 GB. Still we can make it join the pool. Still it will remain homogeneous, and still we can create, but the CPU type must be similar, and if it is not, then we can force it to join the pool, and the pool becomes the heterogeneous, and it will have some limitations. Now this is the pool, this is called the resources pool, and this is the requirement to create, not the create, we can say to join the pool, but because the creation we can create in any XenServer host, and after creating that XenServer host will become the master server, and the master server will define the criteria. So whatever the type of master server we have, our slave servers must be the same type, and that is the requirement we have. Now once you make a server a master server, you cannot remove it. Remember, we cannot remove the master servers. We can remove the slave servers, but we cannot remove the master server. We can change the master servers. Like right now this is the master server, so we can change it. Like I want to make this server as a master server, so I can make this server as a master server. But once you created the resources pool, it must have one server as a master server, and that one we are not able to remove. Now what that means, suppose we have these 3 servers, one is master, let's say this one is master, and now these 2 is slave. So I can remove this slave server, I can remove this slave server, but this one I cannot remove, I cannot make it as a normal server. It will always be the pool, in the pool, and it will always remain the master. We can change the master server, we cannot remove it. Now one more thing, when you remove any server from the pool, so this server will do what? It will restart and it will become like a fresh installation. Now what that means, anything in their local storage, if suppose you have any virtual machine created in the local storage, any configuration you have in the control domain, everything will be removed. Everything will be removed when you remove any slave server from the pool. It will become like a fresh installation. So this is what resources pool is, and next time we'll see how we can configure it.